Hello everyone. So I welcome you back in this course, Introduction to Sequence Stratigraphy, and we will continue our discussion from our previous class. In the previous class, we were discussing on the relative versus absolute ages, and in the last class, we discussed about the different methods, particularly the radiometric age determination method in terms of absolute age of stratigraphic successions. So to continue that discussion, we'll move forward. So what we have seen from the discussion that we have made in the last class, that in the radiometric age dating method, the sedimentary rocks are excluded because the sedimentary rocks are composed of clasts. Basically, when we are talking about the clastic sedimentary rocks, basically, for example, sandstone, conglomerate, mudstone, siltstone. So in majority of the cases, those sedimentary rocks, when they are forming, they are having different minerals as classed, but those minerals, if they are bearing some radiogenic parent isotopes, that will give us age of crystallization from the magma, not the exact age of sedimentation. There are certain exceptions, for example, the glauconite, which forms in the marine realm during diagenesis of sandstone or mudstone. So it is an orthogenic mineral, and many times radiogenic potassium gets trapped within that, and that can be dated. And in those cases, we can get the age of diagenesis, which is very close to the age of sedimentation. So for determination of the actual age of sedimentation, it is very difficult. So what we try to do, we try to get a range of time during which a particular sedimentary event or a series of sedimentary events has taken place. So commonly we call that one as the bracketed age. That means we always speak in terms of maximum to minimum age. For determination of this bracketed age, we have to use other tools, other features, other properties, characteristics present in that succession. For example, presence of certain intrusive bodies like dikes and sills, maybe some volcanic activity, maybe a lava flow, maybe a tuff layer, maybe some metamorphic rocks which are associated with those sedimentary rocks. All these features where we can apply the absolute age dating method, the radiometric age dating method, we can use them for determination of this bracketed age of the sedimentary rocks. And there we get a common range in terms of what is the maximum age and what is the minimum age. So first of all, we have to understand what we mean by this maximum and minimum age. We can take examples, and with that example, I will try to explain. So when we try to get the absolute age of sedimentary rocks, we can use three different tools. So number one, some volcanic rocks or maybe some lava flow. So in this case, say one sedimentary bed is intermixed with lava flow. Maybe there are alternate beds of sediment layer followed by a lava flow, again a sediment layer followed by a lava flow. So that kind of intermixing, multiple such layers one after another, where this is a volcanic layer, this is a volcanic layer, this is a volcanic layer, and intermittent units are the sedimentary units. So when this kind of intermixing goes on and we can apply any of the radiometric age dating method for these volcanic layers, for this lava flow or these tuff layers, we can get the age, and definitely here the sedimentation is going on almost simultaneously along with the volcanic layer. So in such cases, we get the absolute age, the exact age of the sedimentary layers which are present within this particular package. I will give a better example in the next slide. The second category is the plutonic igneous rocks. In this case, we can have two different conditions, two different scenarios. One, some plutonic rocks which are intrusive in nature. For example, a dike body, a sill body, say a dolerite dike has cut across the entire rock body. So definitely from this fundamental stratigraphic principle, the cross-cutting relationship, we can understand that the dike body is younger with respect to the sedimentary unit. So for example, if this is the sediment layer and through that a dike body has cut like this, and this dike body can be dated using absolute age dating method. So, say for example, the age of this particular dike body determined as 100 million year. So, at 100 million year time this dike body was emplaced. So, definitely this sediment unit was deposited before that, before this 100 million year time. So, in the time scale, if I draw this time scale starting from 0 to say 200 million year time, somewhere here is the 100 million year. So, definitely the sedimentary rock body was deposited before this time. So, if I take the sedimentary rock unit was deposited during this particular time, so this age, that is the 100 million year time, is the minimum age of the sedimentary rock, because this is the maximum age, the bottom age of the sedimentary unit, this is the maximum age of the sedimentary rock body. So, what we are getting from this intrusive nature, intrusive property, we can determine the minimum age of the sedimentary unit. The second category of plutonic igneous rock is some unconformity. Say for example, in an area you have a granitic basement and on that basement a sedimentary rock body has deposited. So, we can determine the age of this granite body, say maybe this is 200 million year, the age of this granite body. So, definitely the sedimentary rock body which was deposited here should be younger than this 200 million year time, because they are overlying the granite body and there is an unconformity over here. So, the maximum age of the sediment body can be 200 million year, it cannot be older than that. In this case, the sediment rock body can be youngest up to 100 million year. So, that is the minimum age, because that dike body which has cross cut it having an age of 100 million year. So, this is the concept of maximum age and minimum age which we can use for the determination of absolute age of the sedimentary rock successions. So, definitely in this succession we cannot determine the age of individual sediment layers, but what we can understand that this sedimentation event has occurred after 200 million year, or this sedimentation event has occurred before 100 million year time. The third one is the metamorphosed sedimentary rocks. So, again you are getting some say unconformity where you have some metamorphic rocks available here, or maybe some original sedimentary rocks which are now metamorphosed, and from there we are getting the metamorphic mineral where we can apply this absolute age dating method. So, in that case the age that we will get from that absolute dating will be the age of metamorphism. So, definitely the sedimentation has occurred before the metamorphism process. Say again the age of metamorphism is 100 million year. From the metamorphic mineral, maybe using potassium argon method, we are determining the age of metamorphism as 100 million year. So, definitely the sediment layer which is now metamorphosed was deposited before 100 million year, because then only metamorphism has started. Similarly, this basement rock may be a granite, now it is a gneissic rock, or maybe originally it was a sandstone, now it is a quartzite, and this quartzite is giving an age of 200 million year. So, in this case again the age of metamorphism is 200 million year, and on that this sediment layer was deposited. So, this sediment layer should be younger than 200 million year. So, the maximum age of the sediment unit possible is 200 million year, it cannot be older than that. So, these are some kind of indirect tools which we can apply for determination of the absolute age of sedimentary successions. But definitely for sedimentary rocks, particularly for the clastic sedimentary rocks, we are handicapped, our hands are little bit bound, because there we cannot apply this radiometric age dating method directly for the sedimentary rock layers. So, let us take few examples over here. For example, finding the age of sedimentary rocks by analysis of interbedded contemporaneous volcanic rocks. I have already given you one example, but we can discuss this in little bit more detail. Say in one area you have one sediment bed, say this is a shale unit, and within that shale you have a particular type of fossil, and this fossil is indicating a particular age range. We are not very much sure about the exact age, but say for example around 80 to 100 million year. So, the minimum age that I am getting for this shale from this fossil is 80 million year, but I am not sure, because this fossil can have a wider range. Now, on this shale layer there is an ash bed, and above that ash bed again we have the same cell layer coming up having the same kind of fossil, showing the same time range 80 to 100 million year. So, now we can use this particular ash bed for determination of the actual age, so that there should not be any kind of confusion. So, we can use any of the method like say potassium argon, maybe rubidium strontium, and using that the age of this ash bed comes up as 85 million year. So, there is no doubt about this 85 million year determined through absolute radiometric age dating method. And in addition to that, maybe along this boundary we can find out some bioturbations, some organic activities along this contact, where we get these ash layers have intruded into the cell. Similarly, some activities over here along this zone, some organic activities which leads to intermingling of these two layers along this boundary. What is the meaning of that? What is the implication of that? That means when this ash bed was deposited, at that time the cell horizon, which was basically at that time a mud bearing layer, was very much soft. It was not lithified at that time. Similarly, over here ash bed was overlain by the cell. At that time the ash bed was soft, it was not lithified at that time, and by the time mud deposition started. So, there is not much time gap in between the deposition of these units. So, we can consider them as almost contemporaneous, almost of the same time range. Now, since the age of this one is 85 million year, and since they are contemporaneous, we can determine that definitely these are also of the same time range 85 million year, which is also very much same with respect to the time range that we are getting from this fossil. So, this is one method where we get this kind of interlayered volcanic units, tuff units, lava flows interlayered with sedimentary units, and this can repeat for several times, and when you add them up together you get the complete age of the sedimentary succession or that volcano-sedimentary succession. But in many cases we may not be that much lucky enough that we get this kind of volcanic layers interlayered with sedimentary layers. So, in such cases we have to rely on certain plutonic rocks or these metamorphic rocks, or rather the plutonic event and metamorphic events. So, there comes the concept of this bracketed age that we have discussed in the earlier slide. So, again we can take a detailed example over here. Say in one area we have a granite body. So, this is a granite body, and within that granite body, from zircon present within that granite body, we have determined the age as say 125 million year. So, the granite body was emplaced at 125 million year. That can be very easily determined using absolute age dating method. Now, on this granite body along this contact we have an unconformity. That means there is an age gap definitely, and on that we are getting a sedimentary unit. So, this entire unit is the sedimentary unit, and then this entire portion is cross cut by a dike. A dike body has cross cut this, maybe a dolerite dike, and we can determine the age of that dolerite dike, and maybe this is giving us an age of 80 million year. So, now using the fundamental principles of stratigraphy, using law of superposition, law of cross cutting relationships, we know that this unit, this granite body, is definitely older than this, the sedimentary unit, and this dike body is the youngest one in this package, as it has cross cut all the other litho units. So, definitely this sedimentary unit was deposited before 80 million year and after 125 million year. So, if I want to put a date over here, age of this, it should have been 125 million year maximum and 80 million year minimum. Why I am using this maximum and minimum? Because there is an unconformity, so there may be some gap, and we do not know how much gap was there. So, maybe the sedimentary unit was deposited at 120 million year, there is a gap of 5 million year, and maybe it has ended at say 85 million year. So, again there is a gap of 5 million year, and then this dolerite dike was emplaced. So, maybe the age of the sedimentary unit is 120 million year to 85 million year, but the maximum possible age is 125 million year and the minimum possible age is 80 million year. So, this is the bracketed age where we say maximum to minimum age of a sedimentary rock unit. So, using these igneous bodies, whether this is an unconformity related igneous body or cross cutting igneous body, intrusive igneous body, we can determine the age, the bracketed age in terms of maximum and minimum age of a sedimentary package. Similarly, another example, say you have some basement rock over here which was initially a granite and now it is metamorphosed to maybe granite gneiss with some schist, as we commonly get in normal gneissic complexes. So, there are some schist as well, there are some gneisses as well, and from there certain minerals we can pick up which can be dated, and maybe from that date we are getting an age of 300 million year for this particular rock body. So, what is this age is signifying? This is the age of metamorphism, and on that we are getting a sedimentary rock body, and that sedimentary rock body is intruded by a seal unit which is going parallel to this sedimentary rock body, and on that again the sedimentary rock body is continuing, because seal body will go through in between the beds parallel to the layers. So, this seal body, which is an intrusive igneous body, again we can determine the age of this seal body, and maybe this is indicating say 150 million year. So, definitely for this particular rock unit, sedimentary rock unit, we can determine the bracketed age. So, in this case the bracketed age is calculated in terms of the age of metamorphism, which is 300 million year, which gives us the maximum age of the sedimentary package as 300 million year, maximum possible age, and the minimum age from this seal, which gives us the minimum age as 150 million year. So, definitely this sediment package was deposited within a time range of 300 to 150 million year, maximum to minimum age. So, these are some of the indirect tools, indirect way of determining the age of the sedimentary rock strata, sedimentary packages, just because of we cannot directly apply the radiometric age dating method for a sedimentary rock, because in that case the sedimentary rock body having that mineral will not give us the actual age of sedimentation, but it will give us some older age of metamorphism or older age of crystallization from the magma, which is not exactly the sedimentation age. Apart from this, we have already discussed about the glauconite, certain diagenetic minerals. So, those diagenetic minerals are also helpful if they are present, and they give us age of the diagenesis, which is very close to the age of sedimentation, because we know that immediately after the sedimentation process diagenesis starts. So, in those cases we have to just determine that in which phase of diagenesis that process has started, that crystallization of the mineral has started, is there any significant gap or it is almost at the same time, and accordingly that can also help us to determine the age of the sedimentary rock in terms of its absolute age. Apart from this, we can have some other isotopic and chemical techniques which also can be used for determination of age. Again, these are not kind of direct age, kind of indirect techniques. One such example I would like to cite over here for you is strontium isotope analysis. So, in this case the strontium isotope ratio, that is 86 SR by 87 SR, particularly present or get preserved in carbonate rocks. So, when the carbonates are precipitating from seawater, the strontium isotopes, they get trapped as per the ratio of these two isotopes present in the ocean at that particular time. So, from the seawater, that strontium ratio gets trapped within the carbonate, and that particular ratio can be related to the age, because we have the curve for strontium ratio variation across the entire Phanerozoic time for the seawater. So, what we can do, straightway we can compare this 86 SR by 87 SR ratio of our sample with the given curve, and from there we can straightway relate the age. So, this is the curve that I am referring to. So, as you can see over here, these are the different ratios. Say for example, in our sample we are getting a ratio somewhere here, which is lying somewhere here. So, straightway we get the age. So, in that way it can go on. Anywhere you calculate this ratio 86 SR by 87 SR in your sample, and you compare this with this particular curve and you get a tentative age. So, there are certain advantages and disadvantages of this method. So, definitely I will not go into that discussion in this particular course, because in this course we do not have that scope of going into that much of detailing in this particular aspect. So, another common method of determining the age of sedimentary succession is through chemostratigraphy. So, the composition of sediments that can vary depending on many factors. One of the major factors is the type of the provenance, climatic condition, weathering condition, conditions in the depositional regime, and based on those differences, those variations in the mineralogical and the chemical character of sedimentary rocks, we can potentially use them in discriminating and in the correlation purpose. So, what are the tools we can use? We can use bulk chemical analysis, we can use correlation using heavy mineral assemblages, and many times we can do that through clay mineral analysis. So, these are some of the tools which are also available with certain constraints, with certain restrictions. We cannot apply them for all types of rocks, for all types of sediments, and also they have certain disadvantages, certain restrictions in terms of their uses. So, we will not go into that detail in this particular course. Some other common techniques very commonly used in relatively younger rocks, for example, carbon 14 dating, for example, uranium series dating, which is commonly used for very older rocks, oxygen isotope stratigraphy, a very common methods nowadays, luminescence dating, electron spin resonance dating, thermochronology, amino acid racemization, and annual cycles of Verve or treadings. So, these are different tools which also can give us certain ideas with certain limitations, with certain restrictions, but they can also give us ideas about the age of the sedimentary rock, and based on the type of material, based on the nature of preservation and the age that we want to determine, we can use any of these techniques as well. But in this course and particularly in this class, we do not have that much of scope of going into that detail, because we have to continue our discussion on sequence stratigraphy. So, if you people are interested in knowing about this in more detail, you can refer to these materials, these books, where you get more detail on this particular topic. So, to summarize now what we have learned in this particular class, we have tried to understand how we can get the absolute age of sedimentary rocks. Definitely there are restrictions, there are certain boundness, and even after that boundness, we can get some absolute age when that sedimentary rock is interlayered with some volcanic rocks, or we can get some bracketed age in terms of maximum to minimum ages of the sedimentary package in terms of some igneous or metamorphic events. Also, apart from them, we can get some other minerals, commonly the diagenetic mineral, or maybe some isotopes which may be also very much helpful in determination of the absolute ages of certain sedimentary rocks. So, with this I would conclude over here. Thank you everybody.